My name is Lena. For as long as I can remember, I've tried to leave my past behind. Not the childhood memories, not the fleeting moments of innocence, but the shadows that followed me, stitched into the edges of my life. Secrets, mistakes, people I wish I'd never met. It started the night I left home. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't pack much, just enough to survive, and a single photograph I couldn't bring myself to burn. The rest of my life I intended to erase, starting over in a city that didn't know my name. At first, it was liberating. The streets were new, the people strangers, the routines mine to shape. I worked at a small cafe, kept my apartment bare, and tried not to think about the life I had abandoned. The sound of my footsteps on the cobblestone streets became my only music, the hum of neon lights my only companions. But no matter how far I ran, the past had a way of creeping in, quiet and insistent, like a shadow that follows you even in bright daylight. Then came the first message. No sender, no signature, just words that froze me in place. You can run, but the past remembers. I laughed it off at first, convincing myself it was a joke, a random prank. But the messages kept coming. Hidden notes slipped under my door, emails from addresses I didn't recognize, even glimpses of someone in the corner of a cafe who disappeared when I looked directly at them. Every time I thought I was alone, I felt it, eyes watching, calculating. I knew it wasn't coincidence. I knew it wasn't imagination. Someone or something was tracking me. The harder I tried to ignore it, the more relentless it became. Friends I tried to trust whispered warnings I barely understood. Shadows followed me home, and every night, in the silence of my apartment, I felt eyes on me, even when I was alone. A floorboard creaking, a distant knock, a faint reflection in the window. I started to see danger everywhere. I began digging into my own past, trying to understand what had resurfaced. Names I'd buried, places I'd sworn never to visit, mistakes I'd thought were forgotten, all resurfaced like ghosts. I remembered the betrayal that had driven me away, the faces of people I had loved and lost. And then I realized running hadn't erased anything. It had only delayed the reckoning. One rainy evening, I found a letter tucked into my mailbox. The paper was old, yellowed, edges torn, and in the handwriting I hadn't seen in years, the words I feared most. Lena, you can't hide from what you were, but perhaps you can choose who you will be. I didn't know whether to follow the instructions inside or burn the letter immediately, but something compelled me to obey. The note led me to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Inside, the air smelled of dust, rust, and old smoke. Shadows stretched across the walls like fingers reaching for me. Every step I took echoed, loud and accusatory, through the empty space. And there, in the dim light, I saw a figure. Familiar, yet impossible, someone from my past I had tried to forget. They looked at me with the same mixture of regret and warning that had driven me away years ago. You thought leaving would erase it, they said softly. past isn't a place you can escape. It's a part of you. I wanted to argue, to deny it, to run again. But the words rang true. I had been running not from memories, but from myself. And now, for the first time, I understood that the only way to survive my past was to confront it. The nights that followed were restless. Sleep became a stranger. Every street I walked felt familiar in ways I didn't want to admit. I retraced the corners of my childhood, revisited the places I had sworn off forever. Faces of old friends, enemies, and strangers who had once mattered flashed before my eyes. Each memory was a key, a piece of the puzzle I could no longer ignore. Then the threats escalated. I would find doors unlocked, items moved, sometimes even whispers just beyond hearing. One evening, a photo appeared on my doorstep, me, years younger, with someone I thought I had buried from memory. The image was marked with a single word, remember. I knew then that this was no longer about escape. It was about survival, about understanding what I had run from, and why someone or something wanted me to confront it now. I couldn't tell if the messages were from a friend, a foe, or someone in between. And yet, there was a strange sense of purpose in them, like a trail left deliberately for me to follow. One night, I finally met them face to face in the old warehouse again. They weren't threatening, but their presence was heavier than the walls themselves. Your past isn't just memory, they said. It's a chain. But chains can be broken if you're brave enough. I didn't respond. I only listened. Because I realized, finally, that my journey was no longer about running. It was about understanding, facing, and choosing who I wanted to become. I don't know how this will end. I don't know if I'll find redemption, or if the shadows of my past will finally consume me. But I do know this: running has never been enough. And now, finally, I'm ready to face what I left behind. Because no matter how far you go, the past has a way of catching up. And sometimes it arrives quietly when you least expect it. And sometimes it waits for you to finally be brave enough to confront it. Thank you for listening to my story. If it captivated you, please subscribe, like, and share this video. I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Your support means the world.